the way this is going to work this evening is all of you, we hope, will get a chance to ask a question. And what kind of a time frame do we have for questions? But I mean, as far as each question and answer, doesn't matter? 3 or 4 minutes? Okay, 3 or 4 minutes. And I know that a lot of the topics here this evening are controversial. We have people that are probably on both sides of all the topics. And I would ask that you all have consideration for everybody's view on these topics and the questions and answers that are given. And we can have a civil discussion, questions and answers in, I guess, about an hour. Is that correct? Okay. So, should we start out with a question? I see this gentleman right here.
Now, why do we need to make this so difficult? Why don't you just load it on a rocket and shoot it towards the sun? I'm sure Musk can handle that. And you said $600 billion? Come on, shoot it towards the sun. It'll destroy it before it ever gets there. And it's cheap.
So with the microreactor in Casper, and my understanding is if that takes place, they have to be refueled in Casper, then who gets stuck with the waste?
I think the plan with Casper, and that's the Radiant site, the plan, so those would be refueled probably every 5 years. And if they reach their ultimate goal, you would have maybe 200 of those across the country coming back in to be refueled. When they do that, it stays there at bar none. And they may have another alternative site for the waste too. But when I asked them the question of how much waste would that be over time, they said about 500 tons. So I failed to mention, we produce in the US, not to mention the waste that we already have that needs to go somewhere. We produce about 2,000 tons a year across the country every year.
So, do any of you up there know the origin of SMR technology and how long it's been around and how long it's been safe? And it's waste. Nothing tonight. You've heard the term casks. None of you said how many. None of you said size. You just mentioned 22,000. The actual number is 2,200 metric tons per year generated by the entire, including the U.S. Navy. And for anybody's information on this that understands it, SMR technology was invented by the Navy in the 1950s. It's been used safely for that long. In that time frame, all the nuclear power has generated about 5,000 tons of waste. So, any of you familiar with this?
My answer to that would be that's amazing. So the Navy has used that for years and years and years, decades, right? And I've met people that have been on ships that have a nuclear powered sub or aircraft carrier, whatever it might be. It is safe in that regard. But those ships, I don't know if you realize, like Oppenheimer, which was the start of building the bomb.
Please don't use scare tactics.
So just to give everybody the facts, Oppenheimer is still those buildings are being cut up and moved to other locations across the U.S. to be stored as waste. Because it's not just the isotopes or the material that comes out of those as spent fuel or as waste. It is also, when they decommission those ships, they actually cut out that core to the ship.
Right.
And they're still looking for places. There's ships out there that are still on the water that are decommissioned that need to have a place to go.
Where are your sources?
I actually brought sources with me tonight.
Of the number of ships sitting on the ocean waiting to be destroyed.
I can give you that, so that, I just said there are a number of them, but
Okay, so
we'll dig up that source for you.
we've all seen the movie. And I want to say, I see a lot of people in this room that are older than I am. But I'm old enough to know what happened at the gas hills and that. And I ask anybody here the technology and age. He quotes Oppenheimer. That was 1945. The technology goes drastically, gets better every single year. He's also quotes no date, no times on these caskets. Now this man right here can probably tell us more about the advance of metals, metallurgy, and everything. So what was generated in, say, 1972, and let's use one that everybody knows about, the Kermit E plant in Oklahoma City. Scares everybody at Sodom meeting. The technology then, the technology now, is two different things. The ability to it. If you also read on this technology and you read about nuclear waste, what is happening is they are getting more advanced and they are learning how to burn more completely and generate less and less waste.
You're absolutely right. And to be honest, so two good sources for you, because I brought some tonight if anybody wants to see them. There was a Stanford study that was done that you can look up on the internet. All you have to look at is Stanford nuclear study. There's also a study that was done that used a lot of the sources came from the actual NRC documents in their testing. So that is called SOS. It was done in 2015. So 10 years ago, you're right. Things have changed even in 10 years.
Things have changed.
But if you look up those sources, like I said, I'm no expert, but I know how to use a computer. And those sources are readily available to anybody on either side of this, either side. Much of what he said is true. Technology has changed. That's the reason we have tri-fuel fuel. That's the reason we can look at SMRs commercially. But yet, we are still about 2 to 3 years away from those being tested at Idaho National Labs to be sure that they're safe. That's what Kimmer is doing. They're not permitted yet.
So what is the difference? I just quoted that the U.S. Navy has been using this technology since the 1950s. Yet you're quoting, you're throwing away years of information. You're saying 3 more years to find this out. I don't see the connection, because if we have 75 years of usage on SMR technology, on subs, on surface vessels, we don't need 3 more years. The nuclear part of it, SMR technology that the U.S. Navy has developed, it's proven.
Why aren't they using it?
They are using it.
But listen, this isn't necessarily the topic that we're talking about. We're talking about storing nuclear waste in Wyoming, bear with me, in Wyoming, and it's existing nuclear waste, okay? And that's old technology, isn't it, or older? The old stuff that's been sitting around since 1947 and to current?
Is it? U.S. Navy does not have ships from 1947.
No, I'm talking about power plant waste. It's got to go someplace.
It's got to go someplace. That's correct. But if you're just talking about waste, from 1947 to now, there's the study. You're talking about storage of nuclear waste. You're using old technology. You're also quoting casks. You're quoting cracks. You're quoting explosions. I don't know where the explosion was. You didn't quote your fact there.
WIP,
Where?
the WIP location,
In New Mexico.
underground.
Okay, underground. So what was the release?
Off topic.
Anyway, you got something you want to say?
Yeah, I'm Mike Wandler, president and owner of L&H Industrial. Been working and living here since I was born in '68. And I've been involved in this for 5 years now, been focused on it. Because 5 years ago I decided my life's purpose was to help innovate energy. And I don't really care what kind of energy that is, but we were really heading towards a train wreck, and still are, frankly, with a lack of energy in the United States, and it got worse with AI. So we have to double the amount of energy in the world. I'm really happy that coal is back on the grid with that. That's awesome, right? We need to keep it all online that we can. We need to add everything that we can in coal, oil, gas. And then we need to add nuclear to keep up with this, right? Nuclear does 20% of our grid. And one thing to know is that right now the power plants have to store that. So if you burn nuclear energy, you have to store it at your plant, because the federal government's actually who owns it, right? They can't take possession of it. So you get paid as a power plant to hold that waste until they can take care of it. And they will. And there's also a couple places in Europe right now that are getting ready to start taking it. I don't think our federal government is going to let it go. Different subject. But if you don't want waste here, if the voters don't want waste here, that's fine. There's still a lot we can do without taking the waste on. And it should be up to the citizens. We shouldn't have to take it. I think Yucca Mountain is a great example of, they didn't have to take it, and we put $20 billion in there as taxpayers for them to take it. So we're not going to be forced to take it if we don't want it. It's up to the voters. There's ways to do the incremental approvals for that. And I'm the private partner. I've been in all of these meetings, and you saw L&H up on the board. That's because I've been working on this for 5 years, and I sponsor anything I can. I bring anybody that wants to talk about this in, because I think nuclear microreactors are the way forward to add an energy source for Wyoming that we can actually export the energy. And I've got a whole plan around this that'll be pretty cool for Wyoming, and it's an addition to coal, oil, and gas, and wind and solar if you want to do that. But coal, oil, and gas are really the great ones. So. And I guarantee you, if it's not safe and it's not clean, I won't do it. I won't be involved in it. And my reputation at L&H has proven that. And I can introduce you to all the people that can prove to you that it is the cleanest, safest energy, period, and will continue to be. So, yeah, if you want to talk to whose fault it is as a private partner to the public and who's done this for 5 years, I'm your guy.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Okay. Anybody else? It can be any topic. We can go right there.
These companies that are wanting to bring in these little micro nuclears, the waste is still there, correct? I mean, you're gonna still have waste. What are is there a future plan to, take this waste that you're talking about and take it out of Wyoming? Right now, we've got windmills that we're burying, and yet there's no plan for what's going to happen to this in the future. So you're talking about these little micros and these little companies wanting to come into our state, our home, and they're not telling us the future of what is going to happen with this nuclear waste that you guys are always talking about. So what is the plan for this waste?
You want to comment on that?
Sure. I think technology, you talked about technology in making things safer. Waste is just one of the, and it's interesting to talk to the companies, it's interesting to talk to experts, because it's a great conversation about technology, the fuel, what can be done. But when you get to the topic of waste, I understand why there's no answers. I understand why those companies can't really say other than we store it temporarily, or we store it on site in it, or in some cases maybe in an intermediate. But right now, because of the law, most of those places have to store it on site.
So we bring in these companies that want to do it from our town, And we have to keep that waste here, in other words, right?
Depending on what they're doing. Yeah, so like I said, BWXT.
So there's no future, there's no plans to get rid of that waste other than store it here.
The plan for the federal government is to find a repository, as Mike
Well,
spoke.
20 years from now, we're still gonna be
I'm with you. I'm with you. So it's an unknown,
It
right?
goes to even his fact. Nuclear waste has been around for how many years? It's been stored for how many years? Nothing's been done with the nuclear waste, period.
And we're-
So where is it going? It's just going to sit.
Exactly.
As a member of the public, it's easy for me to say one question that I hear from everybody. Why isn't there a permanent repository? If this is safe and the casks are safe, why is there still no permanent repository in the United States?
Because nobody wants it in their backyard.
Not to mention with him.
Question.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Benita, and I am thankful that I'm not sitting in the shoes of people who have to make the final call on this stuff. It seems like a really big pie, and it's gonna take a lot of input like is happening tonight. It's gonna take a lot of, careful thought and consideration. And there's big issues, big topics. I have one question. So when we're talking about waste that emits radiation, everyone thinks nuclear, but there's actually rare earth mining, going on, and that thorium, when exposed to the air and water, actually becomes soluble and highly mobile in 2 hours. That is actually, and a lot of radiation. So you're talking beta and gamma rays out of thorium when it's exposed. And I just haven't heard as much concern about that radiation as this, and I wondered why, and then also from the representatives who have supported rare earths and its mining in Wyoming, why have you not, why are we picky choosy about the radiation? Radiation's radiation, right?
Anybody care to comment on that?
You should just sit down and speak.
Ruben? Joe? I would say this, that there are different types of radiation. There are different levels of radiation, like we talked about. And so, when it comes to mining those rare earth minerals, that is something that is covered by the DEQ, at least. Like if you do a scoria pit, that's covered by the DEQ. One of the questions I asked to the companies is, part of the fear is that the NRC is the one that permits with the private vendor. The DOE is in charge of that waste, like we talked about. They're just in violation of their contract in most cases, in which then you stand in line to sue the federal government to get your money because they haven't taken the waste away to a permanent repository. So I think there are a few differences in the levels and the types, and we can probably look that up for you and get some more information on that. But it's like I said, even walking by ore that's exposed is much different than enriching that to a level that it becomes more dangerous. So.
I don't think any of us came here tonight to have a PhD level discussion on the details of this thing. And even if we did, I don't think most of us would get it. But that doesn't mean the information doesn't exist and it's not valid. And so I welcome the gentleman's offer to educate us. And I'm also with Chris, because he's saying, take your time, learn the issues. And I think together with that, we can bring in people that are on the opposite side of the table and just take our time, as many meetings as it takes, until the majority of us have a meaningful grasp of what the real issues are and any sensitivity analyses that have to be done and whatnot. And then we can make an intelligent, informed decision. But right now, I feel like I'm being bludgeoned. This is the first I've ever heard of all this stuff. And I feel like I'm being pressured into making a decision based on, well, this person's an expert, and then there's another expert there. And, you know, we've got all these different opinions and people saying, trust me, which is fine. That trust may be valid. All I'm saying is give us the time to learn, to get the facts and make an informed decision. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's a good point, because what he's pointing out is the fact that we live in a free country and we are allowed to voice our opinions on topics and then give others respect in that. And you've got one over here? Okay.
Yep. Oh, okay. My name,
Lean forward.
you know that. Oh, you're gonna make me stand up. Okay, here you go. Let me hold it. All right, that could be true. Just so you know, I was a nuclear weapons specialist in the Air Force. See? Very close to that. It was a very cool job, but nothing worse. Oh, nothing worse than a temporary solution. We know, and I've seen in my career, that a temporary solution means accidents will happen because you don't want to spend the money to do it right the first time. So what I would ask is, I'm against temporary solutions because I know what they're going to happen. Permanent solution, you're going to spend the money, you're going to spend all the money and the technology behind it to ensure things are safe moving forward hundreds of years and so forth. I do recommend, and I've heard it multiple times, education, 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 because we need to be informed. Google is not always right. I spent 6 months in school for what I did. I would really like to see our community, oh, by the way, we are the energy capital of the nation. I've talked to people all over the country and they think, oh, Virginia produces the most coal. No, we are that, and I'd like to see us stay the energy capital of the nation. I'm really for the micro plants. Yes, you got to figure out what to do with the waste, but the technology will always improve. Look at everything that's improved through our life. Our EV cars have gotten better and better. Our medicine has gotten better and better. You know, all these things because you move forward, you test, you learn, and you document. That's it. Thank you.
John Bear has a comment.
Thank you. You know, I'm House District 31, and I want to reiterate, I want to respond to the last two speakers, great points. One is that we're going to have more of these meetings. The next one is September 11th. We don't have the location yet, but we're going to have 4 more meetings between now and November. And here's why it's important. There's several legislators in here, and Chris brought up the point that there's already been legislation brought to allow waste to come into the state that is not generated in the state. And that's going to, we expect that to continue. So far, we've blocked those measures. And we want to know, do you want us to keep blocking those measures, or do you want us to allow it to happen? So we expect to see that early next year in legislation. So we want to hear from you all. That's why we're going to have these next 4 meetings as to how we respond to that legislation. I also want to tell you about a trip I just recently made to Washington, D.C. about this issue and our coal. And I want everybody here to understand where the Trump administration is, because they put out several executive orders. First of all, I went with the purpose of promoting coal, because every one of the people in Wyoming should be promoting coal, and for the very reasons that Mike Wallner discussed. And I was very pleased that the Trump administration is really serious about coal. They're serious about building new coal-fired power plants that will use our coal. They're serious about exporting our coal to other countries. On the nuclear side, he's also given out several executive orders. And earlier there was a question from a lady talking about what's the long-term plan. Trump understands there's a problem. There is no long-term plan right now. And so in his executive orders, he's given the NRC and the Department of Energy 240 days to come up with a plan. And I discussed this with the Department of Energy. That would be around January based on when he signed the executive order. So they're going to work on a plan, whether they actually get it done or not. Here's the issue, and the last thing is really hammered on this, I'm going to bring it home one more time. We are behind China and Russia on this technology. They've been going gangbusters, mostly for weapons side things, but for the energy side too. We need to catch up. Trump's right. We need to catch up and be competitive in the world, especially for our submarines and our aircraft carriers. But that's going to take a lot of money to catch up with that. Those two countries do not care about the waste. We do. And what we need to do is we need to make serious investments in the waste side of things. And what we haven't heard is, the technology advancements on that side. And we should be able to hear that and what the long-term plan is. Now, Trump fired almost the entire NRC. So we're starting over with new people that are hopefully going to be much more motivated to get answers to us. So I just want you to understand that the Trump administration understands this waste problem, and they're probably taking it more seriously than anyone has in decades. So be encouraged. Coal, they're serious about. We have a bright future for our coal as long as people like Trump are in office. And number two, this nuclear thing, they understand waste is the big issue, and I'm hopeful that they will finance the technology on the waste side and find a solution. Thank you.
So my concern is, and I feel like probably everybody that's against nuclear waste being stored in Wyoming, is that the government's already had taxpayers pay how many billions of dollars to lawsuits for the risk and safety that was leaked or whatever into their communities, and how many billions more do they have set aside to continue to take care of those lawsuits that they know are going to come because it's only a temporary containment. And so why would we want that in Wyoming when we have clean coal that we could fight for? Amen. Why do we need that here?
Yeah, and I just wanted to make the comment too, because we talked about AI, we talked about the data centers. Currently, Wyoming exports over 70% of our energy. Over 70% of our energy. And so the data centers that have been coming to Cheyenne have actually used wind and solar off-grid. And the latest ones to announce 2 gigs of energy to use are using natural gas. Natural gas. So that's going to expand to 20 and service a multitude of data centers and AI. So in my opinion, Wyoming has the resources to continue to help the country, because not only do we have extra resources that we can add to this to have our own AI and our own data centers, but as these states around us who are wind, they are solar, and they are nuclear. If that's what they want to do, that's great. That's great. We can backfill that energy. We can backfill with baseline energy that is cheap, affordable, and reliable. And you remember back when the coal mines used to have 10-year contracts, 12-year contracts? We should be doing the same thing with energy. When the governor goes and talks to other states, that's one thing that we should be talking about. Is you want to chase that AI and data, you go ahead with the energy that you have. We'll backfill you with the energy resources that we have, because we already export over 70% of it. So I think that's one avenue for Wyoming to go to maintain our status, because to me, if you own a business and everybody down the street selling widgets, wind, solar, and nuclear, the resources that you have that brought the people to you are what you should keep using, instead of saying, you know what, we'll do the same thing and see if we can be competitive with the other states. So Wyoming has a very bright outlook here, because we can do things on both ends. We can provide that natural resources that we have and we're blessed with, but we can also go after, like Mike said, fabrication. We can go after mining of it, or extraction, I should say. It's different than what it used to be for extracting uranium, but We can do those profit centers in the chain also and enhance our future. So I think everybody here, typically, we're taking polls all across the state. It's about 60-some% that are against the waste portion of nuclear. And so I imagine that will continue to be the same because, like many people said, there's no answer yet. Maybe there will be. But for now, we know to stay away from that piece of it and go where we have the resources and where Wyoming can definitely prosper, even with the energy needs that are going on around us.
Okay, got another gentleman here that wants to speak.
Well, thank you. So this is going to be kind of three questions here. The first one is going back to the initial conversation at the beginning is going back to the basics, teaching kids math, English, et cetera, is why don't we also include the concept of motion? Everything we do is within motion, and what we're talking about right now is motion itself. I think that we need to get something also into teaching the kids the basic concepts of what basically how stuff works. Because I know as a kid, 4th grade, 5th grade, I was very frustrated trying to figure out, okay, how does a skateboard work? How do I ski? How does this work fundamentally? And there was nothing that I could find, not even here, an actual proper book to read. The reason why I'm asking this is going on with the nuclear stuff. Have you guys ever heard of what's called vitrification?
Explain it.
Okay, vitrification is taking your nuclear waste and turning it into glass. It stabilizes your wet waste and your dry waste into a better stable configuration for longer periods of time. I would assume no, because I didn't hear anybody talk about it this entire time, so you're going to bring that up.
That could be something Trump brings up with his people that are researching how to store the stuff. I don't think anybody in this room knows anything about it. Nope, we've got a person that does. Hang on a minute, we've got a person that wants to speak.
So John spoke that we have legislators here that are trying to get bills passed through to let them bring the waste here. I want to know who it is. Which one of our legislators is throwing us into the wolves, throwing us under the bus on this?
Okay, so if I may have misled you if you thought that they were in this room.
No,
I don't believe.
I want to know who they are in the state.
Okay. Well, the last bill was generated by the Minerals Committee during the previous interim. And then that was brought through the House, and it was killed in our Minerals Committee. You know there was a very big change in the legislature in the 24 election. And the House is now much more conservative. So the conservatives in the Minerals Committee stopped that bill. And then another bill was created on the Senate side, and you can go to wildledge.gov and see all the sponsors and people who voted for that. That came to the House, and that was the Minerals Committee in the House stopped that bill as well. And now, we're being accused of being anti-business and anti-free markets because we stopped the nuclear waste bill, just so you understand.
So I've got a gentleman that wants to speak about what this gentleman over here spoke of converting to glass. He's going to speak to it. It's your floor.
I won't take longer than 3 minutes. So the process they're talking about, they want to take nuclear waste and sludge and they want to turn it into glass and put that inside the batch so they can store it. It's another process to process the waste. As we talked over here and what you've heard here, a lot of it's just bits and pieces of what actually goes on in this industry and the national policy we have. The nuclear waste goes back to 1940s, 41s, okay? So every bit that's been produced is still here in some form of storage. Now working on 4th and 5th generation storage, and that hasn't worked well. So as we go into this in the next 3 or 4 months, will be an education process. It won't be 1% about, well, gee whiz, we got a fuel processing plant. We're gonna be talking about national policy, we're gonna talk about storage, we're gonna talk about how the DOD, the DOE, NRC, and the Government Accounting Office actually have reported what's going on. Plus 2 or 3 dozen other institutions where nuclear scientists talk about this. We'll bring experts in. Remember, everything they bring in has been written. Isn't that right, Mr. Jerry Means?
Yes, sir.
It has been written and it's out there. It's no secrets. You can go find it. I'm going to give you a cue though. If you go look for it and you see something blue lettering, do not toggle on that. Because it'll take you another document and another rabbit hole. Another rabbit hole, another rabbit hole. Okay, that's the best advice I can give you because you haven't done all night. You have to go to work and get jobs, right? Isn't that right, Mr. Means?
Yes, sir.
So we started this about 4 years ago. We got some word that about one was going to go towards nuclear, and then Mr. Wallner did talk. He's my neighbor. We sat and visited about this one day. So this is going to be more just about, oh, gee, we're going to bring a plant in. We're going to talk about entire policy, how it affects Wyoming, how it affects our neighbor states. Because as has been shared, if you burn it on that site, it has to stay on that site till the license is gone. So if it comes to Wyoming and you load it and unload it, it stays here. It's interim storage. They want to consolidate all their storage in 1 or 2 or 3 sites. They say they want 10, but I don't know 5. The end plan is deep underground repository. Every European country is talking about it. So this is a national policy. It's not just about an industry coming. It's a national policy and how it's affect the West, Wyoming, and the rest of the country. We have 3 sites that can be cleaned up. Hanford, which is unbelievable amount of mess. There is the Idaho National Labs, INL, and there's going to be Savannah. They're going to be cleaned up. In addition, there is about 90,000 tons of spent waste out there. And Hanford is 146 nuclear reactors encased. That's going to be moved. They sit in a trench. Every reactor is taken out of service. It's got to be cut up and put into a tote, a cask. Each cask is 150 tons, but only hold 15 tons of waste. Okay? So this is not like it's an easy process. If they decide to dispose or move it, it's going to take 30 or 40 years. Maybe less, depends. But remember, every building they take down has got to be cleaned up. Who remembers Rocky Flats? Okay, so Rocky Flats in the middle of the night, U.S. Marshals, FBI show up, shut it down, confiscated about 600 to 800 tons of nasty stuff. Plus, they took down over 600 buildings. Couldn't get rid of it, they buried it in place. But they could get rid of it, they put it in the totes, and they took off to INL. And Mr. Means can talk about what we saw at INL about that. Because where they stored it failed, they had to put it in different storage. So this stuff is the good and bad and the ugly. There's good things about this, there's bad things about this, and some really ugly stuff about that. It goes back 80 years. In addition, as we move forward past 2025, the traceable fuel is 4th generation fuel. It's pretty cool stuff, right? The small new modular reactors, yes, that is true, that's used in our ships. The difference is, we're going to be talking about 1 and 5 megawatt small reactors. The Navy's reactors are 550 megawatts. 2 of them in an aircraft carrier is the same size as Wideck out here at Base Electric. So that's why they're modular and bring them down small. That technology is going to get micronized in a new process that's coming up. So this is about the future. This is about cleaning the past from national policy. So how's that fit in for our states in the West? That's where it's going, folks. It's coming to the West. They're not leaving it in North Carolina and Tennessee. They're bringing it out. They're going to get rid of it and consolidate in one spot. That's national policy, and it's coming. And it's written in every single document, DOE, DOD, and NRC. And if you think you got enough afternoon time, then buy me the coffee. And don't plan nothing the rest of the week. And this is a hobby. And we will continue to talk about the opportunities that are coming, but you have to believe it all comes together. It's like taking that one kid you like a neighborhood, he brings all kinds of things with him, slingshots and everything else. So we'll have more of these meetings. We're going to talk about different things, and it will be based on DOD, DOE, NRC, and the Government Accounting Office, which is actually the Government Accounting Office is the most brutal, honest there is. Because they take all the stuff to summarize, they put in a report, and they're not very nice about it. So that's the things we'll be talking about, and we'll have more of these meetings, and we'll talk about both sides of it. There's opportunities, but on the flip side, there's some issues. We did let an operation come in here. We do have laws we try to get exempted from. That's not right. Either you have a law or you don't. You don't exempt people.
That's my question.
What's that?
What did they exempt out of the law to allow them in?
So they exempted the waste stream. But I just heard tonight, because I can't find a waste stream for Kemmer, it's all about the waste stream. Well, I found out now they're still working on that process, so I don't know, there's actually 3 waste streams identified.
They exempted it without having.
They're fast tracking, but they're gonna get it fixed. We're gonna know about it soon. I just got told that I'm gonna find out what it actually looks like. So it's 3 waste streams that'll come out of Kemmer. It's gonna be the molten metals, there'll be the secondary fuel, and there'll be some product that they can probably, they say they can dilute with water and send it somewhere.
Send it somewhere.
I'm not kidding. Okay, so that's what it's gonna look like. There's a lot of information. It's really some cool stuff, and it's not nuclear science stuff. Well, that's been discovered by engineers and scientists 8 years ago. This is not tough stuff, it's national policy stuff. So, thank you.
Okay, we've got another person going to speak for 2 minutes.
They made the mistake of giving me the mic. All right, so I live in Gillette, Wyoming. Thanks everybody for coming, this is awesome. We're talking about aircraft carriers, nuclear weapons, this is all important, but I live here, we moved across the country to come here. I have in front of me, and we have councilmen, councilwoman, commissioners here, so this is great. I'm glad you guys are here. This is more for that level. I have resolution 2862 here. This was passed in February 6, 2024. And I'm just going to read a little bit out of here. Anyone familiar with resolution? I know these 2 guys are. Anyone familiar with this resolution? In the city council. All right, so I'm just going to read a little bit. Whereas the parties wish to evaluate the opportunities for BWXT to locate certain facilities and operations related to its advanced nuclear reactor in the city. Whereas the city has expressed an interest in evaluating nuclear energy as a source of reliable industrial heat and electricity for the city's residents and businesses. And BWXT proposes the development and future deployment of its BANR reactor as a potential long-term solution to the city's needs. And one more bullet. The BANR reactor is proposed to produce an estimated 50 megawatts of thermal heat and may be integrated with heat exchangers, electric power, a bunch of stuff that could be deployed at locations such as the city. So I don't know, if I could please correct me, but this reads as though they want to deploy them here. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I want to be wrong, but this is what bothers me. This was February 6th, and here we are in August having a discussion. So anyone please comment why? Anyone share my concern, my question? Yes, no? If I'm, so anyone, councilwoman, anybody? Okay, so that's all my commentary. Wait, I'd like to hear from our elected officials. I'll shut up now.
Well, I don't remember being asked if I wanted nuclear in town. Right, so why are we bringing it to the city? If the citizens of Gillette want it, then the citizens of Gillette want it. But the city council is making decisions that they haven't even asked us about. Okay, thank you.
Elections coming up.
I have a question.
Did we get an answer from the councilman on that?
Yeah, let's get an answer.
I wasn't even on the council when this was signed, so I respond to it, but I wasn't here. I don't mean to think that I was. Heidi was. He speak to it.
Let's have Heidi respond.
Good.
Heidi voted for it, she's right there.
Thank you. So that resolution was simply, that was voted on by the council, and when we vote on resolutions, that is totally public. Our agendas are posted on our city website, just so you all know this. Every Friday afternoon before our council meetings are the first and third Tuesdays of the month. Sometimes we have to switch the dates, but we always notice that when we do have to switch a date of our council meetings, and those are publicly noticed. So that resolution was brought before us, and again, I didn't remember every word you read there, but I believe what that resolution was for is just saying that we are open to exploring opportunities. It was not a resolution saying, come on in. It was not that. It was a resolution to explore opportunities. Just like there are always other industries here that want to look at coming to Campbell County and Gillette. You can ask the county commissioners the same thing. They meet with businesses on a regular basis to see what they need to operate here and if it's a good fit. I mean, those conversations happen all the time, same with energy, economic development folks. So all that was a resolution, am I correct in that? Saying that we are open to that, and that was it. And as long as I'm up here, that slide that was shown earlier, what that was is L&H hosted a meeting, an informational meeting back in June. That was not a city council meeting. That was hosted by L&H. The reason that we posted that is because it's the city's policy whenever we have more than 3 city council people at any kind of a meeting, we publish that. We always do that. And so that's all we did, because what happens, what our process is we are asked, you've been invited to attend this meeting. Are you interested in this?
Just so everybody knows, when you want to speak, I have to have the microphone on you because we're recording this, and the system doesn't pick up your voice, just the video, if I don't have the microphone on you. So, your turn.
Yes, sir, thank you. I was curious, was that February of 2024 or February of 2025? Because there's a lot of time lag between 24 and 25. And it was 24? Yep. So that happened then, and this is the first one around.
You're good?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Now it's your turn. Let me pull blank for you.
This one's for Heidi. So at the city council meeting earlier this week, there was speculation that behind the scenes with the city council in these energy situations, it's been quoted that we're too stupid to make these decisions on our own. And you guys are more capable than us. If you could speak on that, I'd love to hear your opinion.
I'm not here to speak. I just came here to learn and listen, but I don't know who said that. It certainly was not me. And the city has put up several statements regarding the public comment that was made at that meeting. So I'm just going to leave it at that because our city attorney and then also the mayor spoke to that. But I'm not sure where that's coming from. I certainly never said that, and I don't know who did. So, but that's all I'm going to say on that, because really I'm here just to listen and learn. I'm not here to offer my opinions on anything. So I'm sorry I can't help you with that. I really don't know who that was.
Thank you. Who's next? Right here. You're next. I got one.
Well, most of us have not known what this has been happening. Like this one thing up there, it was 2 years ago, and I did not know anything about it. I think it was at L&H maybe. And you can say it's on the website, and we can go look, but you know something? I have more things to do than go check the everything that's going to be for the city council. So I think we should just vote on it. In November, let's just all vote, and everybody can come out. And if you want nuclear energy, come here with all the waste. I'm against all that waste because I think it's a big problem. But if we can vote on it, then we know.
Thank you.
What I want to do, everybody's talking about nuclear waste. And when you file any kind of permit, DEQ, anybody wants to know what the end result is. You just can't say, I'm going to mine something here or refine something here without explaining to them what the downtail stream is like. Can you control the waste, liquid, air, or gas? And I've asked this question a couple of times, and right now, I've got no information. So as we go through these meetings, you talk about these experts, make sure you ask those questions. I asked one expert, I got no answer. So please ask that type of question because it needs to happen. That's where the problem lies, no information.
I learned about this because of some other people starting to talk. Did anybody campaign on bringing nuclear waste to Wyoming? Did anybody talk about that 2 years ago when this was in Gillette? I think Mike Wandler's the only one that's been honest with this, that he's been looking at this for 5 years. None of you talked about that when you were campaigning. I missed it someplace. But anyway, and this legislation that was changed, adjusted to suit nuclear waste disposal, are those legislators telling us anything about that? I still don't have a file number from the legislature. They were told they did this, but nobody's giving me a number.
More of a statement.
And I'm really tired of legislators that call me knuckleheads and dumb in public because they don't think I know what's going on.
Back here, Lyle. Back here, Lyle.
Okay.
A couple of things. One, just on the way here, I did read an article. You can take it what's for it, but from County 17, where the mayor has stated that there is no interest from the Hammer nor the city council bringing waste to Gillette. Okay, so that's there. That's already there. But the other part of it is, I guess, there's two more things I guess I want to say. We really have two issues before us that we're talking about. What do we do about the existing waste that, regardless of what the technology is from this time forward, it's a material, that waste is here, what do you do with it? And how does that fit into anybody's plans? And that's the big overriding question in my mind is, what do you do with it? It's going to be here, we've got to deal with it. The other part is, obviously, what do you do from this time forward? But you plant timber, that's fine, but you do it, you got a plan for it this time forward. Or any other power plant that they build around, or whatever. So I think there's kind of multiple facets to all this. I think, to Heidi's point, I think it's very much worth saying, hey, let's know what the options are. As far as talking to the power plants, there's nothing wrong with knowing what the options are and saying, no, we don't want it, or yes, we do. But let's be informed. Too often, we make uninformed decisions. And when you make uninformed decisions, that's what you get. More often than not, it's the wrong decision. Right? When you sit down and make a budget on your house, you sit down and make decisions. If you make a poor decision, you're going to make a poor decision in your house. You want to make it be informed. Doesn't matter what you do. Be informed. Be informed. And in terms of being asked, how does the city councilman else ask that question? It's not as if they're going to call everybody's house and say, what's your opinion? They can't. There's logistic problems there. So there is going to be a burden to some degree on us to always reach out and to keep up to date. That's just the nature of the beast.
Okay. Gentleman right here.
Yeah, my name's Dan Sobrowski. I'm a town council member out of Bar None. This was brought to us, the Radiant Technology Project, back in January. My first reaction, I grew up here in Wyoming. I've lived in Bar None for 20 plus years. I was thrilled about the size of the manufacturing facility. The economic opportunity would be immense, especially for our town. It hasn't seen growth in 5 years. When they said in 5 years of manufacturing one of these, they'd have to bring their spent fuel, nuclear waste, back into our town, that concerned me. But I've done at least 4 months of extensive research, and a couple of my points, we have some of my constituents are very upset, just like some of you. Some simple points that I've asked them to do that I went and done. Bring me one. Now look, there's 2 types of nuclear out here, and it's got brought up a lot tonight. The World War II era stuff was horrible, but that generation was looking to win a world war. They learned a lot of valuable lessons in dealing with the waste, and we're still cleaning up some of that. But we don't do that anymore. In the commercial nuclear industry, when you go back 50 years and even up to 60 years, you cannot find one leaking cast. There's 2 major, people call them major incidents, 3 Mile Island and the WIP facility. Go study those. They weren't that bad. Nobody died. No contamination. Earlier, when Commissioner Means talked about being on that bus, I was on that bus. They explained very specifically what they did with Jet 1 gas from 1974 when they upgraded the monitors to molecular level monitors. They transferred when they found hydrogen molecules inside those old caps. I have 3 articles because I asked that on National Labs. Is there public information on what happened there? There is. If the media or anybody would like more information, come talk to me. The misinformation is astounding. Here's the thing. You're right. We need to continue the conversation. We need to be able to make an informed decision. But I see 4 speakers, and this happened to us down in Bar None. The constant town halls are one-sided from the speakers. Where are the pro-nuclear storage to explain some of this stuff? Then let's make an informed decision. But these meetings seem to be directed in one direction, and we got to stop that. We don't need to make a decision tomorrow, but in the future, let's be informed. We're not getting informed in these meetings. We really aren't.
And as was pointed out earlier, there's going to be more meetings. And, well, we're going to try and get both sides in, but we have to have those people. And I've got, okay, quick question.
I just want to know, is our mayor ever going to be at these meetings to answer questions?
I would say call City Hall and find out, because we're going to have more meetings. He would have to answer that question.
But I did invite him to this meeting. To answer your question, I invited him and another councilman to come as well. Back here loud.
Okay, I have a question, and I'm going to be the monkey in the room. Mike from LNH, hey, thanks for clarifying and speaking your mind on nuclear. If you guys, somebody mentioned Governor Gordon is for this technology or this waste coming to Wyoming. Guys, look at the character and look at the people that are pushing this. That's all you have to do. It's simple in my book. It's what I tell my kids. Who to vote for, look at their character. You know, if Joe Biden's got his name on it, I know where I stand. If Schumer or some people in the state of Wyoming, like Governor Gordon, if he's got his name on it, the stamp on it, I'm going to question that. That's the first thing I'm going to do. If he's pushing that, or if there's another representative that's pushing it, I'll speak up, but I'm going to do my homework. Why is that person pushing nuclear waste in the state of Wyoming? Now, if Ruben Tarver said, hey, I researched it a little bit, Jerry Means. I researched it a little bit, Jack Clary. I researched it a little bit, and I think it's going to be okay. Then I'm probably going to be for it. But if you look at who's pushing this, Bill Gates coming to Wyoming. Why is Bill Gates coming to Wyoming? Seriously. Okay? If you follow the money, whether it's federal, local, or state, you're gonna find nefarious persons that are pushing these projects. And it's all about the money. Follow the money, and I guarantee you're gonna find the answers. And I'm a simple guy. Thank you.
Let's step away from that for a minute. Jim Ford and I attended a meeting today with BLM. Now, can you hear me? So step away from that for a minute. Jim Ford and I attended a meeting with BLM today, and it seemed fairly positive, didn't it? We continue, there'll be some opportunities for coal, particularly when it comes to leasing. Hopefully those issues got settled. I felt a different tone today with BLM. I don't know if you did so, also Jim. So I mean, that's going to be a place we can take this thing also, continue to do what it's going to do. It's going to help our mining industry and maybe hopefully stimulate the electrical generation industry, start building power plants. And the waste issue from Casper, we've talked about that, we've shared comments with him before. At the end of the day, this stuff's got to go somewhere. And if it's so good, leave it where it is. We don't need a train ride to Wyoming, right? Well, the reality is, we've read enough policies on what's going on. They gotta get rid of it, they gotta put it somewhere. And they're not gonna put it in Nebraska. So where they put it in the west is a question. And they're gonna move it somewhere, they've got to, there's a lot of it. Some of it's legacy waste, some of it's generation from nuclear power plants. There'll be new generation coming in, new waste coming in. So wherever it goes is gonna be part of it. The government wants to solve this issue. It's been going 30, 40 years, there's been lawsuits, there's been things going on, and they want it fixed. And they're gonna fix it. They're at the rope now. And there's not a single document here, and I haven't read, that says they have to have interim storage consolidated, they want it in 1 or 2 or 5 places, and they want to also put a repository in. And this is 30, 40 year stuff, okay? It's interesting to watch how this policy goes. I'm a big fan of nuclear aircraft carriers, okay? But also there's things that go along with it. And I'm surely not going to ignore those. I'm just still doing the research and digging into it, been doing it a long time. And it's interesting to watch, but again, there's positives coming also for coal. Hopefully we get the capital and start building out some more of that type of industry. I did talk to a vice president of Power Gen the other day, and they were talking about doing an entire carbon loop, take carbon out of the backside of plants, that would be helpful. So I think the country needs energy, needs a lot of it. Okay, so there's opportunities coming here, thank you.
Okay, this person wants to ask a quick question. I'm timing you.
It's actually a suggestion. If we're gonna have these informational meetings, I actually came here to learn about it. I would like to see slides. I would like to see the information you're talking about presented, and I would like to see both sides, because that's the only way we're gonna make an informed decision. You've got to have people that know this information, not the legislators, not just the public. We need people up here so we can actually have informed information and make a decision. I'm not one way or the other, but I came here to learn about it, and I'm leaving with more questions than got answered.
Well, ma'am, I knew nothing about nuclear waste or anything about this kind of information until I went to INL in Idaho Falls. What they did was presented me with several questions, and then I started doing my research. This is just 30 days, it's over 150 pages of information so I could become more informed. And it's so easy to access on the internet. I don't know how we would possibly put up all the slides, but it's very interesting and it informs you. So I would suggest that for a starter. And then when we have these specialists come to town, they will be more informative. I do not know all there is to know about nuclear, but it does put up red flags for me, and I want to be more informed. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Judy Hacklin, and I'm actually from Lincoln County, the other side of Kimmer. 4 years ago, I went back to Kimmer to talk with the commissioners, and I've been researching and doing and talking with everyone I know who's informed and knows something about it. And all the people that I knew from Kimmer were my age, which is a little older than the young people. The young people were all looking at the money they would be getting. The older people were looking at the damage to our land and our water, and the concern that we will have a way to move ahead with our God-given land here instead of, and that's why I came over here to write, because I knew that Bill Gates had stepped in and offered a lot of money to people who were willing, who were ignorant of a lot of things and were willing to look at money instead of the results, the end result of everything. I came over here to write because I knew that Bill Gates had already over in our area shut down a lot of the gas and oil, and I knew that he wanted to shut down the coal. And so I came over to Wright because I have known where Wright came from and what it is now. It's a nice community now, and it's taken a lot of money from oil and gas and coal to even make it this way. But
I did find, it's talking tonight,
I think we might have,
or died.
it died. Do we have another one just right here? I think we lost the battery on that one.
Okay. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And I came over here because of what I'm hearing here is a lot of talk about just Gillette. And I heard that in Rye too when I first came. They were just concerned about Rye. And I was telling them what had happened over in Cameron with the nuclear plant. Most people were not informed about it. And so I let them know. I said, listen, what happens over there affects this over here. What you all do here affects us on the other side of Wyoming. This is about the whole state of Wyoming. And I haven't heard anything tonight about Upton, but I know that they have, they're preparing the plant. I don't think it's started yet, I'm not sure. It's been real vague in the news media. They've kind of put it undercover because what they're pulling up of the rare earth elements are actually on federal ground. And so the federal has given them the right, and they haven't dissolved it yet. It's still in rock form, so it's not toxic. But once they start dissolving this, the toxicity of it is very high. It ruins the land and the water. And I'm not saying that we can't do it, but I do think that we need to move slow and have education, have educated people researching. We have to put money into the research before we start moving ahead and taking all these. There are about 5 places now in Wyoming. They have decided that this rare earth is going to be, we're going to beat out China. I totally understand why they want to do that, but if we don't do it with wisdom of what it's going to do and what we're going to do with the waste, we are going to end up with no state.
So what you're saying is there's going to be damage. There is, but you're saying let's find a way to mitigate the damage.
We have to do the research first and really look into it and put money and time into it. And I would suggest that everybody here look and find out about all these things and realize that it's not just Gillette we're talking about. It's the whole state of Wyoming.
Thank you.